Yeah, so it turns out they're actually playing along the whole time, and he was never a detective in the first place. And actually what you find out is that the whole time everybody's been playing along, and he was actually an inmate on the island. I can't believe it.
And for more 20-year-old spoilers, you can follow at Paul Swampy Marsh. And on that note, welcome to We're Gonna Need a Bigger Pod. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
I'm really, really good, thank you. How are you?
Welcome. Welcome to my dungeon of film greatness. Film-loving greatness. I'm not great at films. I'm great with films, but I'm not great at films. My last home movie was a dud.
Did you start this bit without thinking where it was going to end?
I started this bit after eating 2 bars of chocolate. That's exactly where this is going. Because, you know, we're coming off the back of chocolate egg weekend.
Yeah.
So, of course, it's important to have chocolate.
I even had a couple of chocolate eggs myself.
You did? I saw you had
a couple of dairy-free chocolate eggs, which was very nice.
How was that?
Very, very nice. Very tasty indeed.
They were tasty?
Yeah, thank you very much, Nomo, by the way. Enjoyed that.
Well done to Nomo for making chocolate for these poor souls that can't eat dairy. Lovable and likeable and very tasty. Actually, I tried a Nomo. They're very nice.
They're delicious. Delicious.
Yeah, that's as far as we're going without any money. Okay. welcome. Time for another I say dose. Dose sounds terribly naughty, doesn't it? It's like, if you get a dose of the pod, it means you've done
something you shouldn't have done.
So good. No,
he's got a dose of the pod again.
If you've spent Easter weekend watching films, thank you, and we salute you. If you haven't, then there's plenty to talk about this week that you can catch up on, that's for sure. Paul Marsh has been catching up on quite a bit, but before we do that, just to let you know once more, if you want to follow us on socials, at Need a Bigger Pod on all platforms. His are
at Paul Swampy Marsh on all socials.
And mine are at Jon Brown TV, the name's spelled Jon, so at Jon Brown TV. Thank you very much to all that like, share and follow so far. Please spread the good word. If you're having a good time with it, let us know. If you're not having a good time with it, let us know. And if you're one of these strange people that feels the need to hate everything on the internet, also get in touch because you'll amuse us and we'll read it out anyway. Okay, so what's on this week, Paul?
Well, coming out this week, the big release this week is Renfield, of course, starring Nicolas Cage as Dracula.
Full Cage.
I know, right? We have interviews which are carrying over from last week.
Yes.
Because the big film last week, of course, was Air, which is packed full of amazing actors. It's killed me.
So just
ready? Done me.
No, we're not. We're taking the naughty word out, but we are going to keep the fact in that Darren Gamblin from Express FM just popped by the studio and thought,
and he's literally stood at the window doing it.
We won't describe it.
What you didn't see is because obviously you're not looking at it. I kept a straight face for literally a good minute. Before you got me, before I broke.
So, yeah, in essence, Darren Gamblin at Express FM was here at the studio, and he was doing something through the window, which
I'll leave to your imagination.
I won't explain it out loud because I don't want to go through the explicit filter on the podcast distribution network, nor do I. Yes, legal's looking at me through the window. Okay, let's move on.
I was going to say that we have some big interviews again this week because obviously Air, being the huge film that it was last week, is crammed full of amazing actors doing their thing. So we have Jason Bateman and Chris Messina. We have Marlon Wayans and Chris Tucker. Thank you very much, Hayley Donaghy.
Yes, we do. So these are carrying over from last week. We were very fortunate that Hayley sent us quite a lot of interviews, but we did, because of Super Mario coming out at exactly the same time, we did only have so much time. So we have held some of that greatness back for you this week. So if you want to hear more about the movie Air, and why wouldn't you? It's a great movie, then you can hear from some A-list talent later on in this show, thanks to Hayley Donaghy, our guest interviewer for this week.
And also our Tip Top 5 this week is all about vampires in honour of Renfield.
Yeah, you got it. I mean, if you're going to go full cage in a vampire movie, it does make me think about other people who went full vampire in vampire movies. And so, yes, our Tip Top 5 this week, as voted by you. So we're going to read your Tip Top 5 vampire movies out. Also, or rather, Tip Top 5 movie vampires. That's the correct. Just put that the right way around. Your Tip Top 5 movie vampires. We're going to find out all about those later on in the show. And we'll also read out our own, of course. A Wonder Movie vampire. Anyway, yeah, so that's all coming up. Lots of interviews, lots of reviews, all your usual. Go to the week's coming up too. It's all to play for, so by all means, stay with us. What's in the news, Paul Marsh?
Well, the weekend just gone, Easter weekend, was the Star Wars celebration weekend up in London. Some amazing things coming out of that.
Yeah, okay, so I will try and keep this incredibly brief because, to be quite honest with you, we could get 2 podcasts out of all the things that happened there over the weekend. I'm not even kidding. So the best way to sum up Star Wars Celebration, which of course took place at the Excel in London.
Yes, it was the Excel, yes.
In London. There we go. It was 4 days of Star Wars greatness. So for anyone that's hearing about this for the first time, it's like Comic-Con, but it's all Star Wars for 4 days. It's massive. Guest stars were invited over from the States. So we had some major stars of the movie from both, US and UK side. They were invited to basically celebrate. I mean, it does what it says on the tin. To celebrate over 4 decades now of Star Wars, which is an incredible thing. Not just the past, not just the present, also the future. The future gets discussed there too. The best way for you to find out everything, and if you're only hearing about this first time, you're a massive Star Wars fan, the best way to find out more is actually to go directly to Star Wars YouTube channel, because there are we worked this out yesterday, 27 hours of footage.
Wow.
For you to watch. I'll give you the kind of potted highlights. So basically, I guess the one or two of the biggest things were Daisy Ridley was there, of course,
yes,
to announce 3 new Star Wars movies with her as a Jedi Master. So that's kind of the headline, I would guess.
So I would assume this is the carry-on from the last one.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, 3 brand new Star Wars movies with Daisy Ridley as Jedi Master. That's kind of I say the biggest highlight. There's so many things went on there. Ewan McGregor was there, of course. We discussed lots of new concepts for animated series coming to Disney Plus. We discussed other, of course, Andor. We've still got another season of Andor to come yet. There was also discussions about Ahsoka. Yes. Ahsoka Tano? I think it's Ahsoka Tano. I think, yeah, so she's the Jedi Padawan, or Jedi Master that was trained by Anakin Skywalker before he went all weird and asthmatic. That is it. Anyone that knows Clone Wars knows Ahsoka, right? Yeah.
I've never heard Darth Vader summed up better than that. Weird and asthmatic.
Yeah, and power hungry and narcissistic. So I mean, if Ahsoka's a beloved character, even in Clone Wars, I mean, that's killed it.
It's done me. Dad, take your inhaler.
This week's episode of Explain Star Wars Badly. So Ahsoka's a beloved character, right? She's a very important part of the Clone Wars animated series, of course. That's probably the biggest kind of stage for people to know her on in terms of, like, from a household perspective, right? Star Wars Clone Wars is on Disney Plus. So her character really develops in that series. I think she's also in Rebels, but this focuses on this is a live action series with Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka, as adult Ahsoka. I mean, to be honest with you, I would watch Rosario Dawson in her own series full stop.
Yeah, I'll be honest, because so I like Star Wars, but I wouldn't say like I'm a massive fan, if that makes sense. I keep an eye on some stuff and I watch all of it. I watch some of it, but I don't watch all of it. When I saw this cast list and when I saw the trailer and everything else like that, I thought, this film looks good. And then it's not a film, it's a series.
We'll talk, I mean, it is in trailer. We will mention it again in trailers in a bit, so I think we'll probably go a little bit tiny bit deeper on it there. I think we've explained pretty much enough as it is. But yeah, Rosario Dawson's in that. So Rosario Dawson in a Star Wars series where she's the lead. Sign me up now. That's a done deal.
Yeah.
There's lots. Cast, crew. There were lots of panels. There were lots of really great talks. Again, you can catch up with them all on Star Wars YouTube channel. They're all there for you to see. There's some highlights videos as well. If you don't want to do the whole 26 hours, you can do some highlight videos.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So Taika Waititi is doing a Star Wars film, right?
As I understand it, yes.
Is he doing the new film with Daisy Ridley?
No.
So they're separate. They're separate
This is
films.
a completely separate
Still
thing.
films,
I'm not
both
even
films,
sure.
but separate.
I know he has some involvement because he was part of The Mandalorian and he was a voice in it, and then I think he directed an episode. So I know he has ties to like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau and things like that, and Kathleen Kennedy and the team that are moving it forward. So yeah, I think he is. Or is he not anymore? I'm not sure.
The last report I read, which probably was over the weekend, was that he was still doing a film.
There we go.
But what I didn't know is it the Daisy Ridley trilogy?
No, this is something else altogether.
You think something different?
No, I think there's a different director attached to. Again, I mean, if you want the finer detail, I'm literally trying to skim across it because I kind of feel like as each thing takes on its own life, we'll go much, much deeper on it, right? So yeah, I really want to just kind of keep the highlights in play, which is I think he is involved with something. Obviously, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni and Kathleen Kennedy have got lots more up their sleeves. I mean, that much is true. In terms of we're going to be seeing more seasons of all of our favourite stuff, like I said, including Andor. We're going to see The Acolyte as well. That's another thing that's coming up. We'll talk more about that near the time. The other cool thing for me was Gordy Habb, the composer of the Star Wars video games, came out to talk about Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which is a brand new game coming out at the end of this month. So it was really, really lovely to see him take centre stage. Now, I've had, let me think about this now. I think 2 or 3 times Gordy's been on the show with me on the Composer series. He's a lovely, lovely guy. Incredibly talented musician. And he's been involved with the Star Wars games for a long time. And so to see him take centre stage at Star Wars Celebration to discuss and develop, as well as the voice cast of the game, of course, this huge new title they've got coming for video gamers. That's a very exciting, especially video gamers that are Star Wars fans, very exciting prospect to have this new game coming at the end of April. But yeah, I mean, I'm literally just scratching the surface of all the amazing things that took place over those 4 days. But if you want to know more, go to Star Wars YouTube channel now. Everything you could possibly ever want to know or see about Star Wars Celebration, closest you're going to get to being there, is on their YouTube channel. So go and check that out now.
Now, we know that Bad Boys 4 is in production, and it has moved a step along. Of course, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are bringing back their characters.
They are.
Bad Boys 4 has now found its villain, supposedly.
I think it's missed a trick. They didn't call this one Bad Boys for Life.
Yeah. Do you think that the fact that Bad Boys 3 was Bad Boys for Life, do you think they didn't think there was going to be a 4? Because that's a home run, right?
But they themselves admitted on the announcement video that they probably shouldn't have called the last one Bad Boys for Life. But, not to spoil the movie, when you put Bad Boys for Life in the context of the story of the last film, it makes sense. Of course it does, without spoiling anything, in case you haven't seen Bad Boys for Life yet. By the way, if you've seen Bad Boys 1 and 2, but you thought to yourself, do I really need to see Bad Boys for Life? I'm going to get stared at now. I would argue it's better than 2. So,
oh, God, don't just...
It's almost as good as 1, but 1 will stand above and beyond on its own.
See, usually I hold you in such high regard when it comes to movies and films, and then you come out with something like that.
It's still good. I just like Bad Boys for Life more than Bad Boys 2.
No. Anyway, look, we got off the point. Eric Dane is supposedly going to be the baddie in Bad Boys 4, because before we get into a huge debate and argument and end up in a punch-up in the middle of the studio, which we don't want to do over Bad Boys 2 and 3.
Well, it won't happen because I'm right. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, go on.
Can I just say, I have your microphone, Vader. It's now the Paul Marsh Show.
I have a delete button. Come on, let's go.
There's always one up in there. Right? Are we still on this, or are we on the next thing? I can't remember now.
Say something then. You know when your brain goes, don't do it.
Don't do it.
And then you look through the window and legal goes, don't you dare.
Right, look.
So, yeah.
Eric Dane is going to be the baddie in Bad Boys 4. If you don't know who Eric Dane is, he was in Grey's Anatomy and Euphoria, of course. Super Mario Brothers. That did quite well, didn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm sorry, you shot straight into that really quickly. I was going to say, I've not seen, and everyone's going to go, I've not seen Euphoria yet, but I'm told it's very, very good. And I understand that Eric Dane is an integral part of both the shows you just mentioned. And to have him as a villain, I think, is a very interesting prospect indeed. And also, they don't make these decisions slightly.
No.
Bad Boys generally...
Bad Boys has great villains.
Yeah, it has great villains.
Really
at one
good
point,
villains.
they had a witch. I mean...
Yes. Yeah. You made me think then, but yeah.
Doesn't even... That whole scene on the plane. But anyway, so yeah, that just to recap on Bad Boys for Life. It's not called Bad Boys for Life,
no,
though.
It's not
just called Bad Boys 4. It's the same with Fast 10. Why is it not Fast 10 your seatbelts? Anyway, yes, Bad Boys 4 is coming, and it now stars Eric Dane. We're very happy about that. Let's move on to Mario, because I believe, in fact I know because I put them all together last night for you, but I believe you got some statistics there which are very impressive.
So at the moment of recording, obviously this will probably change very quickly, but at the moment of recording, it has taken 377 million globally. That is just phenomenal. In fact, it's the biggest release, box office-wise, of the year so far.
Wahoo!
Yeah, so the highest grossing debut of 2023, the biggest 5-day opening of all time. The biggest 5-day opening of all time, that's Wednesday to Sunday. The highest grossing debut for Illumination, the second biggest debut ever for an animated movie, the highest grossing debut for a video game adaptation, and Brian Tyler's soundtrack surpassed 1 million streams.
I think it's fair to say, from all of us here at We're Gonna Need a Bigger Pod, congratulations to the team at Universal, Nintendo, Illumination on great success. I think, especially when you set up the prospect that they were going to make a Mario Brothers movie, and given how that went last time, I think it's fair to say that, and again, we talk about household audiences, I think die-hard Nintendo and Mario fans were very excited, especially when they found out Illumination were involved. Household audiences may well have been excited for it. In fact, we know they were because the results speak for themselves.
Yeah.
But you would be forgiven for thinking, another one. And we said this before. However, I am always happy when, number one, things that I'm almost certain are going to work out, and they have done. But I'm really happy when you are against all the odds with this movie, and yet these are the results that you get. I knew...
And also, can I just say, it didn't have the weekend to itself. Air came out at the same time.
Yeah, Air came out at the same time. And don't forget, you're not just competing with Air at theatres, you're also competing with...
previous releases.
Easter weekend at home.
Yeah.
You know, Avatar dropped in the home that week.
Yeah.
The streaming, which we'll talk about a little bit later, all the streaming films that dropped that weekend as well. There was a lot of temptation to stay at home. And yet everyone came out and supported that film. And... long may that continue, because we need more. We talk about this all the time. We need more family-focused movies like that in cinemas, and this just proves that not only is there a market for it still, not only is there a market for the theatrical experience still. That's a strong one. You know, there was talk yesterday about statistically they're saying, actually, an analyst has now proven that actually bringing things out exclusively at the cinema, should I say, and not releasing them anywhere else on any other platform turns out is more profitable.
Shock.
Wow.
Colour me shocked. I would never have guessed that.
The rocket science degree has been put to good use.
So we went to see it on Wednesday. Both of us sat in absolutely packed screenings.
Absolutely.
Literally not a spare seat in the house. My wife took the kids on Saturday while I was at football. She said, again, absolutely packed, not a spare seat in the house. And then I took the kids again on Monday to see it. And again... So this was running every half an hour throughout the day. I wanted to take them early doors. I wanted to take them at 10:30, 11. The earliest I could get in with 4 seats in a row was 3:30. And by the time we sat in that, again, not a spare seat in the house.
It's a runaway success. And
absolutely.
I think deservedly so, because it is a great film. We gave it 5 stars.
We both gave it 5 out of 5.
You've seen it 3 times now. That tells me everything I need to know about leaning into what we've said about it all the way up to this point. And congratulations to Brian as well. It's obvious to anyone with ears that he put everything into that.
It's fantastic.
I think it's
really good.
I think it's his best work. And if you want to know more about the music of Mario Brothers, you can listen to Scoreheads, which is on this very same channel that you got this podcast from. Scoreheads presents Brian Tyler talking about the music of Super Mario. Sean and I spoke to him for an hour. So if you want to know more about that, and you get a little sneak preview into what's happening with Fast X as well, do by all means check that out. It's on this channel. Congratulations, everyone, every single person involved with Mario. Well done. And also, a big thank you to people that work in, operate and run cinemas.
Oh, yeah.
Because you would have been rushed off your feet, putting up with all sorts over that weekend, over those 4 days, and I don't think that you get enough credit for it. I know Sam Mendes literally made a movie to thank you all, but thank you to you for making sure that everybody got the cinematic experience and that you were there to make sure everyone had the best time possible. So if you're listening now and you work in a cinema, thank you.
Should we talk about some trailers?
Yeah, let's do that.
There's a pretty big one just come out, and I think most people are very much looking forward to this one.
Yeah.
And that's Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Yeah, so this is the final trailer. This is the last trailer you're going to get, which is cool, really, because you don't really want it spoiled for you, do you? So it's nice that we still get one more trailer. I love how... I never thought about this before, and bearing in mind, I work with music all the time, like most days, and it never occurred to me that Rolling Stone's Sympathy for the Devil and John Williams' Indiana Jones theme go in key perfectly. Like, how cool is that? If you haven't seen it yet, go online and check it out. It's absolutely incredible.
What a needle drop that is.
It's a huge needle drop, and it works really nicely with, like I said, with John Williams' original music. So I know it's only for the trailer, but it was beautifully done, and this does look really good. I think I read somewhere that James Mangold has confirmed it is Indy's last adventure.
Yeah, it has been made public that this is going to be the last film under Disney with Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford has also confirmed it's Indy's last... No. They've confirmed it's Indy's last adventure.
Well, I'll believe that when it doesn't happen.
They've confirmed that it's Indy's last adventure. Harrison Ford has confirmed that it's Indy's last adventure. I'm pretty certain I've read in a number of locations now that Harrison Ford has basically said, and I may be paraphrasing, so don't quote me, this isn't the actual quote, but it went something along the lines of, he dies with me.
Yeah.
There's no Chris Pratts, there's no Chris Pratts, there's no Chris Pines, there's no Bradley Coopers. This character dies with me, which makes me think, I don't want to say it out loud, but we've all seen Logan. James Mangold is particularly good at retiring characters, shall we say. Let's not say that out loud. However, and again, I don't know, I haven't seen it. I'm just speculating, but all signs lead to a certain thing happening in this movie.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm just reading the signs, man. I'm just reading the signs. All the signs are pointing in a certain direction, and everybody knows the direction I'm talking about, but signs are pointing in a certain direction, and it's going to make me really sad. Either way, if the certain direction thing doesn't happen, he makes it very clear in the trailer that this is his one last adventure before he retires. So either way, it's going to be bittersweet or very sad or happy sad, if that makes sense.
I think that if this is the success, which we all know it's probably going to be,
the fact they're going to play it in Cannes like 3 months before they let the public know, it tells me everything.
I will be astounded, and I will bet you $1 million that there will be a spin-off of some nature.
Oh, with Phoebe Waller-Bridge?
Probably.
That could work.
Hitler made mistakes, and with this, I will correct them all.
You stole it.
Then you stole it.
And then I stole it. It's called capitalism.
This way! Fasten your seatbelt. There might be some turbulence.
You've taken your chances, made your mistakes. And now a final triumph.
Indy! Give him hell, Indiana Jones!
A few times in my life, I've seen things.
I've been tortured with voodoo. Been shot 9 times, including once by your father.
James Mangold is a very capable director. Do you know what? I was watching Copland.
Oh, I love Copland.
Do you know it was his first studio film?
No.
Yeah, it's his first big studio movie, yeah.
That is... and I don't want to blow your mind because we've already had arguments about Bad Boys. That's my favourite Stallone film.
There's a TipTop 5 inbound.
He's fantastic in that.
We've just had
so
spoiled.
good.
Forget we said it. We'll do TipTop 5 Stallone maybe in like 7 months or something. So I know it's a very different role for him, and he does it very well.
Yeah.
But I watched it again the other night, and it dawned on me while I was watching it that it was Mangold's first studio film, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, man. For a first outing, and with a major studio release, that's just a solid debut in terms of obviously he'd made smaller films before or whatever, but that's his first what we would call commercial.
What a cast!
And then I looked over his CV and realised he has not made a bad film yet. Touch wood, he hasn't made a bad film yet.
Just amazing, just absolutely.
That tells you all you need to know about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Yeah, I'm especially after the Crystal Skull. Obviously, a lot of people were going to have reservations about that. That's understandable, but for me, everything is pointing to this being something very special.
And don't forget, Spielberg and Lucas will be looking over his shoulder the whole time as well. So in terms of it's not going to go so Mangold that it's like full Mangold. But I mean, going full Mangold's not a bad thing anyway.
No,
so if he does go full Mangold, it's going to be a great movie.
Yeah.
If he goes full Mango. Full mango?
Full mango?
Full mango. Yes, I'll have mango, please. If he goes full Mangold, but with Stephen and George's influence.
Oh.
Guys, think about that for us. Just think about it. Right. Essentially, this is what happens when you get Spielberg, Lucas, and Mangold together. Dial of Destiny is the end product, right? I don't want to say it out loud. No, actually, do you know what? I'm not going to say it out loud because I'm going to jinx it. But I'm starting to feel like this is on a runaway train here. Like, this could be the best thing we've seen all year, or it'll just be okay. I don't think it'll be the worst thing we've seen all year. There's just too much calibre involved. Harrison Ford, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, right? We've got Mangold behind the camera. We've got John Williams on the music. He came back to finish it, right? So all the ingredients are there. But all the ingredients were also there for the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Which, to be honest, I don't think is as awful as everyone says it is.
It's not as awful as what everyone says. However, it's because of what it comes from and because it's indie and everyone has these very high expectations, which is completely understandable. And it's not an horrific film, but it's not even close to the others, is it?
It's a tough challenge.
If it was a standalone film that wasn't Indiana Jones and all of that kind of stuff, it'd probably be okay. It'd probably be like a 3 out of 5, no problems. But
one thing Mangold gets is characters.
Is what? Sorry,
his characters.
Oh, characters. I thought you said couches.
No, characters. He does characters well, right? Look at all his movies. Look at the way his movies are shot. Look at the way his movies are cut. Like, this guy is just incredible. So to put him in the same office, for want of a better description, as Spielberg and Lucas, while they figure this thing out and say, what does the end of Indy look like? Whether that be the end of his life, the end of his career, the end of his archaeology career, the end of his teaching career, because he might just be retiring from teaching that you saw there. But you know what I mean? But we don't know what happens. We haven't seen it. But this is the fin. This is the finale. This is the end, right? And I can't think of a better team.
Oh, no,
aside from Spielberg handling it himself, I can't think of a better team to close this off.
I completely
But also
agree.
make it adaptable to a modern audience, which Mangold is so good at. He did that with Logan very well.
I think also with the amount of successful other films that have come out which have been heavy on the nostalgia, I've absolutely no doubt whatsoever that James Mangold will lean heavily into that as well.
There's too much calibre involved for this to be awful. I don't think it's going to be anywhere even close to awful, not even a fraction close. Like, there's going to be bars. It'll either be good, really good, excellent, or the best thing we've ever seen. But it's always going to be in the high positives, right?
So I'm going to tell you a funny story before we move on. My wife is a huge Indiana Jones film. She's
a huge Indiana Jones film.
Yes, she is.
So I've seen her many times.
Let's not get into that right now. She's a huge Indiana Jones film fan.
I quite enjoy her on a Sunday afternoon.
Yes, okay. I'm not saying anything that's going to get myself into trouble. Yeah.
We're not going to say anything else that's going to get me put through that window. So,
but no, so she's a huge fan, absolutely massive fan. This film comes out on June 30th.
Is that her birthday?
Her birthday is June 30th.
Oh, wow.
As you know, there's a good chance that you and I will probably see this a little bit earlier than that, hopefully, if we're lucky. We're going away camping that weekend.
Are you?
Yeah, we're going away camping from Friday to Sunday. So she will, and because obviously she works, she will probably not get to see it at least until the weekend afterwards.
See,
and I know that's going to drive her crazy.
You missed the trick there. You should have nice meal, VIP seats, see the movie, then you go away with the kids on an archaeology weekend.
This was all booked a long time ago before we realised. Yeah, I know.
Archaeology weekends. You could go like an actual dig and stuff like that.
I mean, I'd quite happily go to Egypt or somewhere. You know?
No, but even we have history here in the UK too, Paul, right?
Yeah, but we don't have we don't have the weather. We don't have the weather. Right. Let's move on.
Where's Baldrick when you need him? He'll dig you up an ancient castle. Right, yes. I mean, yeah. What was that called? Time Team or something, wasn't it? What show that was? It was great.
Baldrick.
Yeah, we'll get Baldrick to dig you up a trench. We'll I'll tell you what we'll do.
We have a trench, my lord.
We'll go to one of those, like, I don't even know. Where's the place in Fishport? This is the Roman.
Yeah, Roman.
In the gift shop, you buy them like dodgy looking replica coins or whatever.
Yeah.
Just get one of them, and we'll like
bury him in the garden.
And then we'll hire Baldrick to dig up a trench and go, oh, look what we found.
I don't think Tony Robinson's career has got that low that we can just hire him to come and dig up our back garden.
He'll do a cameo, right? If he'll do a cameo, then we can pay him a couple of extra grand just to come down and go, right, and walk your wife through the process of archaeology, right? And then, oh, look at what we found. What about that on your birthday weekend? Amazing.
What are we talking about?
I don't know, but it sounds great. I might even do it myself.
Oh my God. Can we talk?
I've seen the movie by then, so you go camping.
Yeah.
Right? Lily and I are going to go look for Tony Robinson and some hidden fake Roman treasure. We're going to have the best time ever. I'm going to wear a fedora hat.
Oh my God.
We'll leave the whip at home. That's for later. Right, anyway, come on. Let's go.
You're so getting in trouble. Right, shall we talk about Ahsoka? Let's talk about Ahsoka before one of us ends up getting single.
Just make sure, mate, that it's not your last crusade. Do you know what I'm saying?
God.
Right, okay, yes, of course. We'll talk about that. So I guess we really highlight this earlier. The best thing to do is go check out the trailer online, but this is a brand new series coming to Disney+. It is the next, or one of the many series that we can expect from the Star Wars universe. We've got so many stories. This is a really great story, by the way. To be honest with you, watch it when it comes because it's a really great story. If not, watch it because you're a Star Wars fan. And if not that, just watch it for Rosario Dawson and a lightsaber. What else do you need to... I'm already sold. If you just told me that it was Rosario Dawson's doing a new TV series, I think I would have been all the way in. The fact that I'm also a Star Wars fan, the fact that she looks amazing and like a total warrior, proper Jedi stuff, like this gonna be awesome.
I started hearing whispers about Thrawn's return as heir to the Empire. We have to prepare for the worst. The Jedi fell a long time ago. There aren't many left.
Perhaps it is time to begin again.
So that's coming to Disney Plus. Of course, we knew more about that. And then they've got other great animated series still coming. We've got more Andor to come. But yeah, there's loads more to come from the Star Wars universe. Again, I'll walk it all the way back to check out Star Wars YouTube channel. That's the best place to go if you want the most up-to-date info on everything Star Wars and not the weird, dodgily explained, potted, backwards version that very clearly states I wasn't there over the weekend version. Don't listen to me. Go to Star Wars YouTube channel right now. Check out all the details from the people that are in the know, that know way more than I do, that were actually there doing some amazing interviews, some great panels, and you can watch all the trailers on the Star Wars YouTube channel now as well. So go there. That's where you need to go for that. Right, one more trailer, I think.
We have a new Marvel film in the shape of The Marvels.
Yeah, so this is, it is in essence Captain Marvel 2, but it's also a big screen movie adventure for Kamala Khan, who is in Ms. Marvel, which was on Disney+.
What the? Hi.
We're looking for Kamala Khan.
Okay, so our powers are entangled. I can manipulate light energy. And you...
I could totally show you.
No!
Not again!
Hi.
Where's our daughter?
So she is from, of course, she's an amazing comic book character. She just had her own Disney Plus series to kind of set up her origin. She's now in this movie with Brie Larson. But yeah, so Brie Larson's returning as Captain Marvel in her current form. And of course, we've got Monica Rambeau's character returning as well. And then we've got Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan. So that's why it is called The Marvels. So this is a collective ensemble adventure with those three characters in one movie, which also acts as a sequel to shows and other movies and so on and so forth, such is the MCU's nature. This looks like a really fun adventure. The Ms. Marvel series was a little more teen-focused.
Okay.
I think, more so than your average Marvel flick. I think it kind of is more female-centric. Well, but it is female-centric. All three leads are female. But I think it's something that I like, that it works on many levels. It's something, for example, that... Yeah, and there's a great series about this, by the way. If you go into Disney Plus, there's a show called Marvel 616, and it's kind of tales from, looks behind the scenes at the people responsible for bringing comics to life. And there's a lovely segment in one of the episodes about the origin of Miss Marvel's character, Kamala Khan's character in particular, about how she is a hero, a positive symbol for young Muslim girls, for example. So I think that it works very well on that level. That culturally it's a really positive thing, but also for young women in general to have these huge, fantasy superheroes or whatever, but they are essentially leading women and women that young women can aspire to. Like, it's healthy for your daughter to read these comic books, right? It's healthy for your daughter to see these movies, because they are taking on, in the same way that Richard Donner did with Superman, taking on that, he took Superman very seriously. Christopher Reeve, famously so, documented everywhere, he took it very, very seriously. Like, the importance of the honesty and the decency and the goodness of the character of Superman, or verisimilitude, as we often refer back to. So this is that. Marvel take these, particularly these women, very, very, very seriously in terms of the impact and the impression and the inspiration that they give young women and particularly young girls. So people like your daughter's age, for example. So this is something good and well-rounded that's going to be funny. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's a really big adventure. I've already seen online that some grown men are really unhappy about it. It's something that, regardless of age or sex or gender, actually it transcends all that. It's and Marvel have been doing this for decades, by the way. It's something that everyone can love and enjoy and be a part of and call their own. This is going to be a really fun, I think, uplifting adventure, and you can see that from the trailer, but which is online, by the way. Ms. Marvel's does come to cinemas in November. We will talk about it more at the time. And it would be lovely to get some interviews as well surrounding that, I think. Paul Marsh, any thoughts on that?
No.
Not at all.
No. With the greatest, it looks fine, it looks great. As you know, I'm not a Marvel person. Do you know what? I rewatched Iron Man 2 the other day. That's kind of my level, before it got really complicated and all intricate and everything else like that.
It's not. You can. I'll give you a timeline which is actually in order.
I haven't got time to tie my shoelaces, let alone watch 14 Marvel films.
Well, there's more than that. But what would be really cool is if you've got till November, if you kind of worked your way up to Ms. Marvel, because then you kind of be able to walk into interviews and things kind of being fully aware. I mean, to be honest with you, I only think you would need to know the things that are connected to Captain Marvel, I guess, which is a couple of movies in one series.
We'll do a crash course at some point.
Yeah, because have you seen Captain Marvel?
No.
It's great. You'd love it. It's all set in the 90s.
Okay.
Anyway, right, we'll move on. But yes, that's, like I said, going back to positive role models for your daughter, for example. This is a shining example of that. But yeah, Miss Marvel's in cinemas November. Okay, what's next?
So in cinemas this week, in cinemas now, we have Loving Highsmith.
Fire them off to me, Paul.
One Fine Morning.
List them for me.
Cairo Conspiracy.
Did I make that sound weirdly sexual? I don't know.
The Curse of Rosalie. Three Colours Red, the 4K restoration.
So that's the third, isn't it? They've been showing them one a week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Raging Bull, the 4K restoration.
That's going to all cinemas, by the way. That's not select. That's going to all cinemas.
What a film. Now, again, this is a brief thing, but if you haven't seen Raging Bull... Oh, wow. Just treat yourself. Treat yourself, go to the cinema this weekend and watch it.
Can we just say that's 5 and be done with it and move on?
It's a 6. It's a 6 out of 5 is what it is.
If you've never seen Raging Bull with Robert De Niro and you like things like Rocky, then...
It's all about Jake LaMotta, arguably, especially at the time, one of the greatest boxers that ever lived, and it's just brilliant.
Yeah, check it out. It is in cinemas right now. You can see it at a cinema near you in beautiful 4K and with remastered sound as well. So check that out. If you're hearing about this for the first time, that is your homework for the weekend for sure.
Just finally finishing them off, Suzume?
Suzume, yeah.
Suzume.
I'd like to be able to see this and come back to you on it. Don't hold me to it, don't quote me on it, but it would be nice if I get a chance to. It's an anime film.
Yeah.
One which has been met with a lot of fanfare from anime fans, and it's really nice, actually, that it's got a massive commercial release from Sony. Well done, and thank you to Sony for that. But yeah, Suzume, that's in cinemas now as well. Great. If you love anime, this is right up your alley.
And then finally, Assassin Club.
Assassin Club as well. So this is an interesting one because it all sort of just came out of nowhere, but it's got a cinema release. So it stars Henry Golding. It looks very much like a action comedy.
Okay.
But again, it literally appeared out of nowhere and, hey, this is at the cinema. And everyone just went, okay.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough. But however, looking at films that we have actually seen...
Yeah, so, let's look at this week's big reviews.
Jackie Chan, he's back.
Oh, I thought you were going to start with the other thing. I was literally getting ready to go, one. No, okay, yeah.
We'll get to that. We'll build to that.
We'll get to that. Okay,
yeah.
So the first one is Ride On. So this is in select cinemas in certain places on at certain times, but I know you saw it at some point last week, didn't you? Tell us all about it.
I did see it. So this is... How long has Jackie Chan been gone, by the way?
Been gone?
I mean, like, he's not been in a film for a while, has he? I don't mean... Yeah, no. It's not a Dracula and Renfield kind of situation.
Was there something like... I wonder what you were leaning towards. I was like, what have I missed here?
No,
not Jackie Chan. No, okay.
He's just not made a film for a few years now.
I don't know. I think he does. I think they're not always commercially marketed. I don't think he's ever stopped. He's a jobbing actor. He's always worked, I think, for as long as I can remember anyway. But I think it's what you mean to say is it's been a while since he's done anything.
Since we've seen him in
something commercial, right.
In an English language film, certainly. Yeah. Well, this isn't an English language film. This is in Mandarin Chinese. And I watched it. The version that I watched was in Mandarin Chinese with subtitles. But the thing is, this is a family film. This is a film that young kids can watch. So basically, Jackie Chan plays a washed-up stuntman, and he has a stunt horse, which of course Jackie does. And so he's down on his luck, and basically he makes bad choice after bad choice after bad choice, and something happens, and he becomes an overnight sensation, and his luck is back on the up again. Mm-hmm. And because his luck and his notoriety and his fame is on the up, it also brings to light some of the other problems in his life that he still has to deal with. Yeah. Even though his his work and everything else is all back on the rise again, and that's it. And so it is a good film. And Jackie Chan's a legend. Jackie Chan is a legend. He's gone through many stages of his career. But the one thing that Jackie Chan does, obviously his stunts, but he does stunts in a slapstick style. Yeah, I saw a certain film again the other day, which was awful, but he was the best thing about it, right? He's that guy. And the great thing about this, as many other family films we've spoken about, I think even in Chupa that we mentioned earlier, the fact that not only do you have his stunt life and the horse and everything else and his rise to fame again, but he also has a situation with his daughter. And he was a very famous stuntman, and because he was away doing films and stunts, it didn't work out with the mother and his daughter, and he had to leave them for a long period of time. And now the daughter hates him, but she's back in his life. And is it all going to go wrong again because he's on the way back up again? So there's 2-3 different sides to this film. And it's a really, really nice film, is what I could say. And it's a little bit of a surprise. So like I say, so when I watched it, it was in Mandarin with subtitles. I want my kids to see the film, but there's no way they're going to sit through with the subtitles.
I imagine there's a dub, though.
Yeah, and this is what I don't know when, say, it's in selected cinemas, so I don't know if there is a dubbed version, if there's a subtitle version, because at some point in their lives, I'm sure our children will start watching subtitles films, but at the moment, it is not. That's not something they're going to watch.
A lot of the anime titles, especially with you, all the anime releases, for example, all have options. You can go at different times for whether you want it subtitled or dubbed.
Right.
So
okay.
I would imagine it would have been. It may not have been, It may not have been. But in most cases, I've noticed with these foreign language films that you can get a subtitle version or you can get a dubbed version. Personally, I prefer a subtitle version. But in the case of, like you say, younger children and maybe holding their interest, maybe they can't read yet. I think that, a dub would be. I'd like to think there's a dub of it out there that they can enjoy.
Do you know what? It's really funny because I 9 times out of 10 will choose the original version with subtitles. However, when I was watching Squid Games, very occasionally I put on the dub version because I was doing something else. I was doing the ironing or I was getting dinner ready or whatever, and I would whack the dub version on because I wanted to keep it going whilst I was doing things. And then as soon as you sit down and watch again, you flip back over to the subtitles.
That's an interesting way of doing it. I never thought about that.
Yeah, because
I always watch them in subtitles because
if you're sitting and
I'm
focusing,
a bit of a purist in that respect.
Yes.
Like, I like to see it how it was made,
I don't think I would do it with a film, but obviously with a TV series. And it was only for, like I say, 20 minutes or so while I was doing a couple of bits and pieces.
Yeah. I can't. That's the thing, I can't break away from something. I mean, especially, I know that life gets in the way. I know that's a thing, but no, generally with a lot of things, I will. If I know I can't give it full 45 minutes in the case of a TV show, 2 hours in the case, then I won't bother with it at all. Because I feel like, especially in this gig, I feel like you have to kind of, if you're going to weigh, measure and judge something and have that opinion affect the outcome of you. I mean, we don't know how far this goes, but maybe if we say something's amazing and it maybe sells 10 more tickets or 100 more tickets or 1,000 more tickets, or if we say something's terrible and that stops 100, 10 or 1,000 people from going, I kind of feel like that I have a level. I've always felt personally I have a level of responsibility. So if it's something like you say, you put it on just for fun, in the background,
and it was Squid Games.
Potter off and do other things. I think that's a problem. I think in a case where you have to weigh, measure, and judge something, I think you have to give it your fullest attention.
If you're giving it a professional opinion,
for sure.
So this film works on quite a few different levels. Like I say, you do have Jackie Chan doing his slapstick stunts, which he's still absolutely fantastic. Again, as with any Jackie Chan film, some of the outtakes are at the end of the film and they are hilarious, really, really funny when it goes wrong for him. Unfortunately, it's not meant to be funny, but he handles himself very well and he's always got a smile on his face. The family side of things with the relationship with him and his daughter is really, really nice. It's really, really sweet. There are obviously baddies involved along the way, and they all play their part as well. So yeah, in essence, it's a very good film. It's a very nice film. My one issue with it is just over 2 hours long, and I thought that it was half an hour too long, in my opinion, for a family film. And there are highs and lows in any film. Usually, when in a film, is things are going great. Something happens for it to go badly, and then by the end of the film, it comes back up and it's great again.
3 acts.
Well, in this, that happens about 3 or 4 times.
Right, okay.
It goes really well, and oh no, something's happened. Oh, it's really good, and then there's something bad. And it peaks and troughs about 4, maybe even 5 times throughout the film. And I just thought it was a tiny bit too much, and I thought that if they had taken out or condensed something down to an hour and a half, an hour and a 40, something like that, I think it could have been a much more impactful film. Bearing in mind, this is, I believe it's either a PG or a 12 or... It's got no rating on here, but it's a family film, so it'll either be a PG or a 12. So bearing in mind that, I thought they could have had it at a tight hour 30, hour 40. That was my only real complaint from it.
And what did you love about it? Just highlight that for me again, please.
Jackie Chan being Jackie Chan, it's slapstick. The stunts are amazing. The horse is phenomenal. You
nearly swore then.
I did. Yeah, I'm glad you caught that. CGI, the few times they CGI the horse, 95% of the time the horse is real, but a few times when there is a big stunt happening, they CGI the horse. Not great, unfortunately. But
these are things you liked.
Yeah, no. So Jackie Chan's great. The relationship with his daughter's great. You know, the baddies in it, they're great. The story is good. It's really good. It just has a few issues. Not many, not loads, but a few.
Okay, that's Ride On. It's in select cinemas right now. I am going to guess. Shall I take a guess? I bet it's a 3.
I'd probably go a little more than that and maybe a 3.5.
Ooh.
It's not a 4, but I think a 3 would probably be too low. So I'd go sit nicely in the middle and go 3.5.
Okay, 3.5 out of 5 for Ride On, which is in select cinemas now. What's next?
Next, we are going to talk about an all-time classic film.
Tell me, Paul, tell me!
We are going to talk about Beetlejuice, the 35th anniversary.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
More than once.
Yeah.
Please.
Amazing.
Once is enough.
What, the 35th anniversary? 35th anniversary?
Yeah, no. Yeah, just,
the other bit. Okay, yeah.
That's fine.
I got
the problem
joke.
you've got if you say the other word, he'll appear. And if you say the 35th anniversary too many times, people will cry because they'll remember how old they were when they first saw it. Like me! 1988. Can you believe such a thing?
I know. And see, now the great thing about this, when you look at this, the film length is 1 hour and 32 minutes.
Yeah, it is. I mean...
It's a tight hour and 32 that doesn't leave anything out.
Interestingly, it's now also a 12.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I remember...
It's been bumped up.
Down. It's always a 15. It's been a 15.
I was led to believe it was a PG.
No, it's never been a PG. So it was a... I know, in fact, I will tell you now with absolute confidence, I have a VHS copy of it that we got from a video store closing down sale. And bearing in mind, that was about 25 years ago, by the way. So the tape was already 10 years old. It was a rental copy of Beetlejuice, and it had a 15 certificate on it. And I can see it in my mind right now. I remember it because I was 9 when Beetlejuice came out, and I really wanted to watch it, and I wasn't allowed because it was 15. So it definitely was not a PG. However, as we've talked about many times before, certain films, when they are re-released for an anniversary or they're remastered or there's a special edition or for any reason it has to go back into the distribution system and be publicly exhibited, it has to, of course, like everything else, go under review. Depending on where you are, that might be the MPAA. In this case, it's the BBFC here in the UK. And they have decided that the original cut of it, by the way, nothing's changed, is in modern sensibilities considered to be a 12A. So Beetlejuice at the cinema again. After 35 long years, you can see Beetlejuice back on the big screen, remastered in 4K, by the way. I have a copy of the 4K version, and it's just...
Is it beautiful?
It's stunning. I love 4K. Did you not notice from all the other 9 episodes of me going beautifully transferred into 4K? In this case, it works really nicely. I mean, of course, with Tim Burton, that's a lot of practical effects. And to be honest with you, I'd prefer it that way.
Yes, I agree with you. I'm much more of a practical guy. I think if something can be done practically, it should be. Potentially only if it can't be, then you look at CGI. But I think we all much prefer practical effects.
Yeah, and what did you say, it was bumped up or bumped down? It's been bumped down. It's been taken down a notch, which is really interesting. It's funny, isn't it, how some of these things have been gone up. Like Ghostbusters was always a PG for years, and everyone thought...
it's funny, isn't it? Like
it's now a 12. Ghostbusters is now a 12, which is probably what it should have been. Saying that, speaking of Tim Burton, Batman was very famous in the United Kingdom, Tim Burton's Batman, for being the first 12 certificate ever to be awarded in the history of the category. So the classification
between
12...
it was just a PG and a 15.
Yeah, you had a PG or a 15. And so what happened was in 1989, for the first time ever, the BBFC introduced the 12 rating. Batman was the first film to receive that rating in the United Kingdom. However, the video industry, which is of course separate to the cinema exhibition industry, did not have the 12 for a little while after. So Batman was a 12 at the cinema, but it was a 15 on video because they couldn't
that sucks
make it.
for any 12-year-olds,
Right?
doesn't it? Yeah? It sucks. I saw
like you
Batman
queue
at
up
the
the
cinema.
cinema
I've
and
now
go-
got to wait 3 years to see it.
No, not at all. It's just like you queue up at the cinema and you're old enough to see it, right? But then when you came back, you had to get your dad to go and get the video for you because it was like, how weird. This is a movie legally I was allowed to see for cinema exhibition, but because the framework just wasn't there, they just had to give it a 15. And it was like, it's not really a 15, but we don't know what else. It's definitely too dark for PG.
Well, I think when you think about a lot of the stuff that goes on in that film, a lot of the effects, they have comedic value, but there are certainly a handful of scenes that
Yeah,
may be considered
really dark
scary. I mean,
moments.
obviously the scene where they're singing and dancing around the table and the hands come out and
Yeah, I mean...
that kind of stuff.
I think for it to be a 12 now, I think makes sense. I think it probably should have always been a 12. And, I mean, it's only got one F-bomb, by the way, when I think about it. There's that famous F-bomb. Do you remember the nice model?
Yeah.
Oh, it's one of my favourite lines.
That's probably another thing which, when you think about it, is the sexual side of it. You know, the innuendos and all of that kind of thing, which are possibly a little bit dated now.
Come on down! Chew on the dog! Wahoo! Yeah, that. Some of that stuff. Anyway, well... just to walk back to the whole point of why we're talking about this. So this I think Michael Keaton was a very famous comedic actor in the 80s anyway, wasn't he? Was Batman, I think, was Batman the first time he was kind of doing something a little bit more serious? Because this, I mean, for Michael Keaton to be Beetlejuice in this is perfect for Michael Keaton because it was very Michael Keaton. Like, he's got that energy, hasn't he? That, even when he's a comedic actor elsewhere, he's got that energy and the comedic chops for it. And I think that, I mean, famous, like Mr. Mom was one example, but this was like hand in glove, wasn't it? When you think about the character of Beetlejuice. For anyone that doesn't know, that has no idea what we're talking about, this is Tim Burton's 1988 classic in which a couple die. Was it a car accident? It was, wasn't it? Off a bridge or something.
Yes, yeah.
They don't realise they're dead.
No.
They seem to, and again, this is all in the opening minutes. They discover that they're actually ghosts,
Because
and they're
somebody else
haunting
moves into their home, and they think, well, why are these people moving into our home when we live
because
here?
of course time and space changes in the ethereal plane or whatever in the other world. So they realise that they're ghosts, and this is Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis. They realise they're ghosts in their own house, and that of course someone's going to move into the house because as far as the real world's concerned, they're dead and gone. And so they decide they don't want anyone living in their house. And actually, it's their house, regardless of whether or not they're living or not. And so they hire an exorcist for real people. So it's like an exorcist in reverse, isn't it? Beetlejuice is someone that gets rid of mortals for ghosts. So it's that idea. And I always loved that. Even as a kid, I love the concept of that turned on its head. It's like, well, you get a priest or an exorcist to get rid of ghosts in your house. But if you're a ghost, who gets rid of people? You know, that and he does that with such comedic chops, and you can see from the makeup and the costumes. And there's another film we'll talk about in a minute where talking about someone else leaning into their role. But I think the greatest thing about that, I mean, aside from Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin being great in it,
I was literally just about to say, what a fantastic cast.
they make a really good couple.
Catherine O'Hara,
of course, is
she's
now
amazing.
legendary.
She's
now
amazing.
legendary. So many great actors in that. And I think the ensemble cast, Winona Ryder, of course, playing their daughter. I think that the ensemble works very well. They work incredibly well with each other. And yet here they all are playing off each other in this cartoonish world. You know, it's all very Tim Burton. I mean, the design of the house, everything from the wardrobe to the set design to the creature design. Everything is incredibly Tim Burton. Like, you couldn't get any more Tim Burton if you tried. And that was his hallmark, and that what makes him, I think, a great storyteller is that he told this really interesting story and interesting concept in a high art way, again, all practical for the most part, stop motion, animation and so forth, and then brought that all together, and then you've got in the middle of all that Michael Keaton as this just lunatic ghost. So Yes, but I don't think there's anything other we can say about it in review 35 years on. I still think Beetlejuice is a 5-star film.
I still think it's a 5-star film. I think that maybe some of the effects maybe is slightly dated.
Yeah, I think 4K. I think a 4K HDR makeover does maybe expose a few strings and
But in terms
makeup
of story and everything else, comedic and it's 5 stars. It's 5 stars.
I can't really. I mean, the more we digitise things and the more we enhance our view of things, of course, we're going to start to see the strings and the puppet strings and the marionette strings, as they say. But I think that doesn't affect this movie at all. I think the movie still stands up. I think it's still a great, entertaining romp. And I think it's one of those films that when it's on TV, you go, I'll just watch this.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%.
Okay, Beetlejuice, 35th anniversary. That's back in cinemas right now. It's now got a 12A certificate. So if you're a person that is of age and has enjoyed it in the past and has got a teenager in your house that you want to share it with, you can now take them to the cinema to see it and do that thing that we couldn't do when we were teenagers. And see it again on the big screen. Do that. 5 stars for Beetlejuice. Okay, he still didn't appear yet, so I think we got away with it. And lastly...
well, we're going to talk about the big film, the big release for this week.
I don't know what that was.
It's Renfield.
It's Renfield. I know what that was.
Yeah,
I know what the film is, but I don't know what that...
No, I don't. That you really kind of brought it down. Rather than building it up, which I know was your intention.
Well, no. I could bring it
down.
up.
Go on, then bring it up.
I could bring it up.
Go on, then bring it up.
It is time for Renfield. How's that?
The Count.
Drives you batty, doesn't it?
Oh, stop it.
I know. I'm
Stop
draining
that.
all the energy in the room.
Literally feel people clicking off as we speak.
I'm draining all the energy, I know. I'm
stop.
sorry. Right, shapeshift us back to the plot, please.
No, I've lost the will to live.
Oh,
hey,
dear.
I can do it too.
Oh,
I can do it
dear.
too.
I'll get me cloak.
Oh.
Hey, sucks being you, doesn't it, mate?
This is just punderful. It's absolutely punderful.
Punderful? Are you serious? Punderful? That's got some bite on it, I'll tell you. Right.
Stop.
Not
Stop. You're killing me. Stop.
Right, while this thing's still got teeth, let's talk about... So, Renfield. You've probably seen the trailer.
How many vampire puns can you squeeze into a minute?
I think everyone's seen the trailer. At this point, if you haven't seen the trailer, you've had your head in a coffin.
Oh.
So, if you know the story of Bram Stoker's Dracula, the classic book and the classic tale, we'll know that cinematically we've had many great versions of that. Some are better than others. Some are supremely amazing, and we'll talk about those in a short while. But this is a riff on that story, so it's a really fun idea. It's directed by Chris McKay, who I love anyway. And it sets up the prospect that this all, by the way, is deeply inspired by Bela Lugosi. Did we decide that's who it was? It was Bela Lugosi.
Yeah.
Bela Lugosi? Yeah, I think so. So it kind of acts as a sequel, I guess, to the original Universal Monsters Dracula of cinema of days of old. The classic, proper classic black and white Dracula.
The opening of Renfield is wonderful for that. Similar to...
God, it hat tips so much.
What was the Hugh Jackman awful vampire? Van Helsing. So the opening 10 minutes of Van Helsing are wonderful because it's all black and white and it harks back to the old 1940s, 1950s films.
Yeah. So,
and then after that 10 minutes, it goes...
Yeah, so that's essentially what happens here. You've got this. I guess what it's setting up is essentially saying this is a present day sequel to one of those classic Universal monster movies, and that can do that because you're playing with the concept of the undead. Mm-hmm. So present day, whenever that movie was released, and maybe that even harkens back to the 1800s or whatever. But the point being is, what if we set Dracula in modern day? And that's been done before too. But the idea being it's a sequel to one of these old films, so we'll set it up in black and white and then we'll move into the present day because everyone's immortal, so, they'd still be around. That then takes the character of Renfield, who traditionally is known as Dracula's manservant, for want of a better description, who was then driven insane and then ended up in a padded cell for the rest of his days as a result of that. And... he shares a modicum of Dracula's power and a very tiny amount of Dracula's power at that by eating bugs, which again was a thing that's always been in the lore but was never really explained how eating a bug could give him Dracula. You know, it's like eating a mushroom in Mario. It'd give him a power up for a little bit, right? So
because it's a live, innocent soul, maybe, but small.
I don't know.
Something along those.
Yeah, actually, do you know what? You might have nailed it. But I remember it always like not being quite confusing in movies or not really being explained. And I love how they make a joke about how they're really not going to bother explaining it in this either, which I thought was hilarious. But this is a comedy spin on that. Nicholas Hoult plays Renfield. This version of Renfield is still a servant to Dracula. He's still a neurotic, down on his luck servant of Dracula. The only difference being that he's been allowed to stay alive for as long as Dracula has at this point. So they're existing as present day, but with modern sensibilities. So he's decided that Dracula's a narcissist, which is in every way true, and that he needs to seek help with that because he's gone to a self-help group or a meeting or regular meetings because he's decided he wants to be independent. He wants his own life. He wants to be free of this hundreds of years old curse because he's just not happy anymore. And the idea of that he basically spends his days and nights kidnapping innocent people to feed his boss is probably not the best course of action for him moving forward. And so that's kind of where we set up Nicholas Hoult's character. Count Dracula, his boss, is of course played by Nicolas Cage, and I think Nicolas Cage has just been given absolutely everything, including the kitchen sink here, and told to just go with it, which he does, which we'll get back to in a moment. But yeah, essentially the setup is modern day Dracula. Count Dracula exists in the modern day. He is looking for new victims. Renfield has to find him those victims. However, he then gets embroiled in a separate plot. Can't even say the words. He then gets embroiled in a separate plot which involves a crime family and a local law enforcer that he is completely besotted with.
Would you like to introduce yourself to the group?
I'm the Prince of Alasia. Some call me the Dark One. Others, the Lord of Death. However, to most, I am known simply as
Renfield's boss.
And we speak heavily, obviously, about Nicolas Cage.
Oh, of course we do.
And I have to say that Nicholas Hoult was born to play Renfield. He plays it to absolute perfection. However, I do want to say how brilliant are Awkwafina.
Oh, everyone, firing on all cylinders.
And Ben Schwartz.
See, now there's a lot of... This leans its tongue heavily in its cheek more often than not, but by design. So the villains are panto villains.
Yes.
Everything is amped up to 11 in terms of being completely overplayed.
Yeah.
Completely leans into its lunacy. Does not mess around with it as well. It's kind of going, we're making a Dracula movie. This is going to go one of two ways. We can either make it very serious, like Bram Stoker's Francis Ford Coppola's version, or we can go in completely the other direction and be completely aware of what we are and just have a ball with it. And that is what is important. The takeaway from this movie is everyone in this movie is having the best time.
Yes, completely.
Just runs away with itself. Yes, it's...
Except for maybe some of the stuntmen.
Oh, well, but again, like, that's all really well done. I love the fun and the zippiness of it. It's short as well. We talk about, it's like an hour and 30. It's nice and zippy. It's easily enjoyable. It's bite-sized. But there's so much to enjoy it. Nicholas Hoult, as you pointed out earlier, we said, like, if this movie was made 25 years ago, it would be Hugh Grant's all day long.
Yes.
Like, he plays that foppish, bumbling Englishman really, really well. That can be the hero when he needs to be, of course. But essentially what this is setting up is that he's kind of aware that he's an accomplice to the villain. And he wants to change his stars.
He's had enough of that now,
yeah. And I like that. I like the way they play around with modern self-help groups and self-help books. I noticed they pop up a lot in a really funny way. It hat tips a lot of great physical comedy. It hat tips a lot of great classical, comedy. It's got a couple of great overkill. One particular overkill gag, which I'm not going to tell you here. Of course, I don't want to spoil it, but there is an overkill gag that repeats.
It's genius
throughout the whole
so
film, and I was done. Every time they did it, I was done. There are a few. I watched you and Keith both fall off your chair at one point, laughing at different things. If nothing else, it is incredibly funny, and And very gory. I mean, the gore gets worse as it goes along, I found.
It's comedy gore.
Yeah, it's comical.
Comedy gore.
Comical, cartoonish gore, I would say. Although it is very, very gory.
Comical.
Comical?
Yeah, comical.
You're good with this, aren't you? You're doing well. Bullseyed that. I was thinking of a vampire pun. I ran out.
So you went with the 1980s game show?
It's my cross to bear. Don't worry about it.
And he's back on track.
But yeah, I mean, all in all, this is a lot of fun. Don't take it too seriously. I don't think it's inviting you to take it seriously either. I think I enjoyed everything about it. I had a slight niggle with the effects. I think I know VFX houses work incredibly hard on every frame, but there were some instances where it really felt like CGI blood was involved, and you really can't mess that up because blood is incredibly easy to make. I'm not sure why there just weren't buckets of it.
Because that's it. There is a lot of blood in this film, comically a lot of blood in this film.
I'm going to get limb removal and stuff.
Some of it is good, some of it works quite well, and some of it just doesn't.
Yeah, there's some there's obviously limbs being removed and all kinds of other crazy stuff that goes on as well. I mean, a lot of that stuff can be done with amazing prosthetics people. They're out there.
They've been doing it for years.
They're out there, yeah.
The guy's name has gone. We were talking about him the other day.
Tom Savini.
Tom Savini, that's it. Yeah, Tom Savini, all of these guys, they've all done that for years and years and years, and they're legends at it.
Yeah, and makeup as well. I mean, we move like Rick Baker and people like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it can be done. I think there are times when... But, we get in situations like that every day, mate, where we have to cut a few corners because we're, time, schedule, money, these all things. I know these all things playing for. I just think that spending money, I think the CGI shots of certain things would probably cost more than a bit of paint and some plastic. But I don't know. And also I think if it was more practical, that something would have added a little bit more of that B-movie magic to it, right?
Yeah.
So there were a couple of things about it I was like, I could hear you going, like that.
Yeah.
That was going on a lot. And I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I think aside from a few niggles, it's a really solid, very funny, incredibly entertaining hour and a half of nonsense that's just so much fun. Yeah. So, any thoughts to add, positive or negative?
No, I think you've perfectly summed it up, to be completely honest. It's happened quite a few times recently, but I actually kind of agree with everything you've said.
So I've hit the stake on the head.
Oh.
Hey, there we go.
I'm feeling like Dracula who wants to drain your blood right now because these are just getting ridiculous.
Oh, don't be so anemic. Right, Renfield, 15 certificate. It is in cinemas now. I'm leaning towards 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I give it a solid 4 as well.
We're in Betty. Right, 4 out of 5 for Renfield. In cinemas now. Check that out.
Right, it's time for our big interviews.
Yes, it is. So, if you remember last week, we talked a lot about the movie Air, which is a great sports docudrama from director Ben Affleck, who also starred in it with Matt Damon, of course. We did hear from Ben Affleck and Matt Damon last week on the pod. However, we did have a lot going on with Super Mario Brothers as well. So we do have more interviews from that session to play you, and we're very, very excited to share them with you. So for those, if you haven't heard the Ben and Matt ones, go do that now. They're in a previous episode here on this very channel. However, if you want to hear more about Air, we did manage to get from the wonderful guest interviewer Hayley Donaghy some more interviews for you to check out and go behind the scenes of the film. We'll start with Jason Bateman and Chris Messina, and Hayley asked them both about how it was to be involved with the film.
It was, you never know when you do these things. You just got to do your part and hope that everyone else does theirs, and Ben really made a great one.
He really did. And Jason, I wanted to ask you actually firstly about the stats that we see on the page. Stats in terms of how much they didn't have in the basketball arena before this deal was just amazing. What kind of surprised you the most about learning about the story?
Really just sort of how kind of, not haphazard, but it was, it seems like the culture there at Nike was pretty casual and personal, and they were friends, and it was a little kind of lo-fi in how they went about things. For something that became such a massive global piece of business, it really just started, at least this particular piece, the Jordan piece, started with just 3 or 4 guys figuring out, well, is this a smart idea or a dumb idea? And like, let's just kind of roll the dice. And what's the worst thing that can happen? As he says at the end of the movie, it's just one guy. I mean, they're not going to be that successful. You know, giving him a piece of the shoe, you know, the profits is not going to hurt us that bad. And so that's really kind of, I don't know if charming is the right word, but it was. I was surprised at how small something so big started.
Absolutely. And Chris, for you, playing that real life character, David, how much information was available to you when preparing and capturing him?
You know, I read his book. He's got a book called The Bald Truth.
You read a book?
I did.
On this?
It was one of my first.
You did research?
Yeah.
Huh.
I watched interviews with him, and he's a fascinating guy. Super, super smart man. I think the only thing we probably have in common is we're both from Long Island. He's much...
Full stop.
Yeah, he's much taller than me. He has less hair than me, and much smarter. But we weren't doing imitations of these people. It was kind of the essence of David Falk, and kind of our interpretation of it. That's what we were going after.
Absolutely. And I loved that at the age of 21, I don't know how true this was, but Michael's sort of deal breaker was that red car. I was wondering for both of you, what would your kind of deal breaker sweetener be, either now or at the age of 21?
Ooh, at 21. At 21, I was very excited to do everything a 21-year-old could do as opposed to a 20-year-old. So for me, it was gambling. I went right to Vegas. I wanted to make sure I could go through all the casinos proudly with my driver's license and not worry about, my days of fake IDs. So anything that would have been exclusive to a 21-year-old would be my thing.
That sounds right. I wanted James Dean's car, even though he died in that car. I think it was the Porsche Speedster.
Yeah.
I wanted that car. I was in love with James Dean, and I wanted to anything he had.
Wasn't he only 24 years old when he died?
Something like that, yeah.
Gosh. And I was just chatting to Ben, and he was actually saying just how much fun you all had making this film. So I wanted to know, what are the best stories of you guys all working together?
I'm always terrible at remembering anecdotes, but the fact that we had a lot of fun on this job is all Ben's fault. He has he has such an ease and a comfort on a set and has so much know-how that it puts everybody at ease because he knows what he wants, he knows how to get it. And you don't have to be worried about having to fix things for him or pull extra weight, because not only is he fully capable and credentialed, but everybody that he hires is at the top of their field. So, and it was just down the street from our houses. Like working in Los Angeles is a very rare treat. So the whole thing was just a pleasure. One of the best jobs I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, likewise. He uses a lot of the same people behind the camera, in front of the camera. So it was very much like a family affair. Everybody was, everybody was very jolly, very happy to be there.
Jason Bateman and Chris Messina there talking about the film Air. Don't go anywhere though, we've got two more for you. Yes, the amazing Marlon Wayans and Chris Tucker also spoke to Hayley about their role in the film.
And Marlon, George Raveling, apparently one of the key people that Michael Jordan himself wanted to be in the film. So how did you feel taking on such an important role?
I felt like I needed to, even though I always hear my acting teacher tell me, like, there's no such thing as small roles, only small actors. And so I went in there like I was like I was starring in a movie. Like I literally spent hours because it was a lot of dialogue. And I like to walk on the set, and I like to be prepared, because when the director or people have notes, I like to be able to move and shift and not be worried about the lines. And then I like to play. So I just felt like it was such a great role, and it reminded me of some of those like Christopher Walken in like Pulp Fiction, like just like a great monologue, just something that I was just like, I want to be a part of this. And so I definitely wanted to prepare and show up and work with these heavyweights and put my best performance for it.
And Chris, you're already friends with the real Howard White, I understand. That's got to feel like a really special casting call to get.
You know what? It's a blessing from heaven, because Howard, I called him every year, and he's one of those friends because he works with Jordan to beg him for bags and hats for my golf tournament I do for my foundation, and he never said no. It was like, last minute stuff. He said, "I got you, Tuck. I got you," and that's all. He's just a kind-hearted person. And when I found out that it was a role and about him, I said, "This got to be something to it." And it wasn't a lot in the script. We had to do a lot of research. And I said, you know what, Ben Affleck, and Matt Damon, and I know the guy. I love Michael Jordan. Who don't love Michael Jordan? I love sports. This got to be something to it. And I said, let's go at it. And Howard was so helpful. He took me back when he was people that knew him when he was 5 years old, up into Charles Barkley and people like that. And I talked to them, and Charles Barkley, man, Howard, he's the best, man. Let me tell you something. He's the best guy in the whole wide world. You won't meet a better guy. People calling him Confucius, and he's just always positive. I said, whoa. And this was other people talking about him. And then I had the chance to talk with him too. And because I knew him from meeting with Michael Jordan at Michael Jordan's golf tournament, but I didn't know him as a kid. And in high school, he introduced me to his teachers on the phone. I'm talking to his high school teacher, elementary teacher, basketball coach, and everybody saying the same thing. Howard was class president. Howard in a white school. I said, what? Back in the 60s. This guy is amazing and was amazing. So I put all that in, in this character. It was him, really, and it's all due to his help and Ben just shaping it and putting it on film.
Chris Tucker, Marlon Wayans, Jason Bateman, and Chris Messina. They're all, of course, the stars of the film Air, alongside Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. The film is also directed by Ben Affleck. It's a really good film. We gave it 4 stars last week. If you still haven't had a chance to see it yet, go and see it in cinemas. It's in cinemas and theatres everywhere now. We gave it 4 out of 5 stars. We loved it. So if you haven't, great sports docudrama, check it out. Thank you again to Hayley. Thank you, Hayley, again for those. That was amazing. More big guests for you next week. I think we're talking next week to the star and director of a brand new edge of your seat TV show, but that's as much as I'm giving you right now. Okay. We'll move on. What's next, Paul?
We're going to look at streaming. So coming out to streaming this week, we've got The Planes, which is out on Mubi. And also, I caught up on a few films that are out on Amazon Prime and Netflix as well.
Yeah, you did. Tell me all about it.
Right, so I'm going to talk about Operation Fortune first. Ruse de Guerre.
So this was a film that was potentially bouncing around at the cinema. I mean, so much so we saw like that many trailers of it, didn't we? There were trailers of it at the cinema for the longest time. Then it just disappeared off the face of the earth, and then it resurfaced on Amazon Prime. It's directed by Guy Ritchie?
Directed by Guy Ritchie, yeah. It's got a fantastic cast list, by the way, starring Jason Statham, Aubrey Plaza, Carrie Elwes?
Carrie Elwes.
Elwes, okay, never can pronounce that. Hugh Grant, Josh Hartnett, Eddie Mars. It's got so many.
We are famously the podcast that can't pronounce names.
A single word. Yeah.
I think we're going to lean into that as a kind of our thing. That's our thing. We can't pronounce anyone's names.
What? Jason Statham?
Don't call him that. I've seen him when he's angry.
Oh, right.
Come on. What's it all about, Paul?
So it is about Special Agent Orson Fortune and his team of operatives who recruit one of Hollywood's biggest movie stars to help them on an undercover mission when the sale of a deadly new weapons technology threatens to disrupt the world order. It's a small film.
Do they want $1 billion?
Something along those lines, yeah. Yes, so yeah, but directed by Guy Ritchie, who, of course, as we know, for directing many of his own films from way back in the day, Lock, Stock and Snatch, and then up to big, huge budget films like Aladdin and various other films. And this is on Amazon Prime after looking like it was going to come out at the cinema for a very long time.
Yeah, it was. But how does it fare? Is it any good? That's the question of questions.
Now, do you want me to be all proper movie critic, or do you just want me to literally...
Well, here's the thing, because this works on 2 strands. I've heard from movie critics that it's not all that great. I've heard from friends that it was an absolutely brilliant way to kill a couple of hours and was extremely fun. So I've seen it from both sides, but then I've seen critics that say they really enjoyed it, but then I've seen friends that said They didn't enjoy it so much. So there's kind of a middle of the road feel going on here. What are your thoughts as someone that's watched it beginning to end?
It's not that it's bad, it's that it's so bad I wanted to put my fingers into my eyes, swirl them around and pull my eyeballs out so that I didn't have to watch it ever again.
I don't think I could do this. No.
Danny?
Nope.
Danny.
Trust yourself. No need to be nervous.
No reason to be nervous. They're only killers.
We've all seen you handle killers before, on screen.
Fundamentally, there's no difference.
What do you think an agent does? They act. And no one acts better than you, Danny. The best agents are stars, and the best actors are movie stars.
I guess that's sort of true.
You're an actor. Act.
It's bad. Like, bad.
Wow.
It's... The script is awful. The script is shocking. The dialogue is awful. It's just... The dialogue has been written so that it's trying to be punchy and actiony and, quick quip. Yes, quick quip back. Oh, quick. And it's poor. It's just trying to be so cool that it's bad.
Did Guy Ritchie write it?
He's one of the writers, alongside Ivan Atkinson and Marn Davies.
Because I kind of feel like when you look back at something like Lock, Stock or Snatch, the writing is on point.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Like, the writing is incredible.
Right. And obviously, we mentioned Lock, Stock and I mentioned Snatch. Guy Ritchie, and even recently up to The Gentleman. The Gentleman was fantastic as well. So Guy Ritchie makes amazing films. I've said the cast is fantastic. The names that we have in this film are fantastic. The acting is so poor. The acting is poor. The casting is poor. Okay, these actors are all fantastic actors. Not in this film, they're not. They are bad. It feels like it was rushed. It feels like there is, again, so much information coming at you. They've tried to make this plot line so complicated and intricate, and there is no time for anything to sink in because they're throwing information at you 100 miles an hour. They're changing it. They're trying to double cross you as you know, a viewer. They're trying to make you think, oh, is it this person? Is it that person? And what's this person's role? And what's that? But there's so... Again, they don't let it breathe. And I've said this with a few films that I've seen recently, haven't I? There's no time to let things sink in. There's no time to let things breathe. There's no time to think that this character is going to do that. Because as quick as you think he's doing that, it's already thrown you a 360 and you're doing something completely different as well.
I heard Hugh Grant gives one of the performances of his career.
No! He's awful in it. Awful.
So go and see Dungeons and Dragons instead.
He's awful, right? And the one, and then the final thing that really got me is the awful product placement. It's not even subtle. There's a Louis Vuitton shopping bag set next to somebody at some point on a plane with no rhyme or reason or explanation whatsoever. There's just a Louis Vuitton shopping bag next to him.
Don't say it again. It's like, I want money.
And it's like this throughout the whole film. The cars that... I'm not going to name names. The cars that they drive, the drink that they drink. It's just so obvious and it's so badly done.
Is it just like a 2-hour... You know, you see those like Cologne... Really over the major actors in really over the top cologne perfume ads.
Exactly what it's like.
Is it like a 2-hour ad perfume ad?
I saw a brilliant review
or car ad.
I saw a brilliant review afterwards because I don't read the reviews before. I saw a brilliant review afterwards that said, "Producer, hey guy, do you fancy making this film? We'll get to go all over the world, get drunk, have a really good time. Yeah, let's do it." And that's it. And it's shot all over the world. They shoot in some fantastic locations. Fantastic. So I had absolutely no doubt that they had the best time filming this. And I know that they wouldn't have had to have really convinced anybody to make this. I love Aubrey Plaza. What was the name of the last film that she was in that she was so good? I'm literally going to look this up now because she was so good in it. Emily the Criminal.
Oh, superb.
She was in a film called Emily the Criminal, and she's absolutely amazing in it. It's so good. I really like her as an actress, as a personality when you see her on the chat shows and all of that. I think she's great. She just was not good for this at all. She's supposed to be an FBI hacker sort of thing. She's FBI. So she's a hacker, and like she's clearly, I don't think she's ever sat in front of a computer before in her life. She does this. This is what she do. I'm in.
So for reference, he just threw his fingers at a keyboard and then said, "I'm in."
Yeah, and that's it. And it's embarrassing.
That's movie hacking, though, isn't it? Movie hacking. There's just a bunch of buttons that people press, and it looks.
I think it's come on a long way. I think that people are actually doing things now, and you can see.
Yeah, I mean, you take like Simon Pegg and Ving Rhames' characters in Mission Impossible. It's convincing.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Jason Statham is being Jason Statham. He's great in everything he does, but he plays Jason Statham as Jason Statham, as MI6 agent or whatever he is. I can't remember in this. Hugh Grant. So Hugh Grant is, Hugh Grant's character in The Gentleman.
Yeah.
Where he's a bit of a Cockney geezer.
Yeah.
And he's a reporter or something. Isn't he a journalist or something along those lines?
Something like that, yeah.
I think. So he plays that exact same character, but he's a billionaire, wants to take over the world and weapons of mass destruction and all that sort of stuff. But he plays that same character.
I heard it was like a lampoon of Goldfinger.
Maybe, but it's just bad. It's not good. It's bad.
Is there anything you liked about it at all?
Some of the scenes, where it was shot and all of that are epic. Some of the camera work is very good. Some of the editing, by the way, is awful. There was one scene with Aubrey Plaza, and it felt like it just got cut halfway through. And I even looked at my wife and went, "What happened there?" It literally just got cut halfway through. Some of the editing is shocking. It's just like I say, you've got great actors, and Josh Hartnett is quite funny as the movie star. Eddie Marsan as he's a head of MI6, horrendously miscast. Eddie Marsan's a great actor, but horrendously miscast in this, and it just seemed like it was almost like either people he got on well with and has said for some time, "I'm going to get you in a film. We're going to make a film together," and this was that film. And it just wasn't good. So I went through some of the films that I'd seen and reviewed lately, and I looked at the reviews and ratings that I gave them. I tried to figure out where it was going to be, and I started at a 1 out of 5, and I looked at the other reviews that I've done for 1 out of 5s, and I went, it wasn't that bad. And then I went up to a 2 out of 5, and it's not as good as those. So I've literally given it a 1.5 out of 5.
That may be the lowest score you've ever given on the podcast to
certainly
date.
On the podcast, yeah. I mean, I have given things 1 out of 5.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah, but few and far between.
But here, on this show, I think that's the first time we've ever given anything 1.5.
Yeah.
So 1.5 out of 5 for Operation Fortune, which is now on Amazon Prime Video.
Sorry about that.
Well, what was next? Hopefully you have better news.
Yes, I do, actually. So I watched Chupa on Netflix.
Oh, so all I know about this is that it's wonderful, and it was composed by Carlos Rafael Rivera, who we've had on with us over on the Composer Series many times. I'm really looking forward to getting him back, because he works on Queen's Gambit. Doing a great show. And he said of course he worked on a lovely, lovely score for it, but he said many, many cool things about Chupa. So how did you feel about it, Paul Marsh? Give us the backstory. What's it about? So
Chupa, which is it's about this mythical creature which is huge in Mexico.
Chupacabra.
Exactly. There you go, Chupacabra. So it's about a young lad who's going through some family problems, and he visits his family in Mexico. He gains the unlikely companion when he discovers a young Chupacabra hiding in his grandpa's shed. There is a brilliant character played by Christian Slater. The name escaped me then. Christian Slater. He's trying to capture the Chupacabra. You never he works for a US government agent. You never fully find out why he wants to capture it, but he wants to capture this.
Is this the plot of E.T.?
It's not a million miles away.
It's basically the plot of E.T.
It's not. It's been done before.
It's not a terrible thing, though.
No.
The question is not, is it the plot of E.T.? I think the question is this plot handled well? Because ultimately, it's the same like with the four-chord thing, right? There are only so many stories,
yeah,
right?
of course,
So,
yeah.
Being a riff, I mean, you look at how phenomenally brilliant E.T. is. Even now, you watch that movie right now, it's still 5 stars, like one of the best what I call Boy and His Monster stories. So this movie fits, by the sounds of it, very firmly in the category of Boy and His Monster, right?
Yeah.
So tell me, when you think about E.T., when you think about Boy and His Monster movies, right, that you like and you enjoy, how does this movie fit in that pantheon of films?
Well, it doesn't do anything that you haven't seen before. You can't compare it to something like E.T. or anything else like that because it's not on that level. But it's good. It's enjoyable. So as with all family films, I sit down with my kids and I'm like, right, do you guys want to watch this? They both watched it for about 10 minutes and decided that they didn't want to watch it. However, I think so my boy, as my boy's 5, and as with all 5-year-olds, he wanders off and then wanders back and then wanders off and wanders back. And 2 or 3 times he came back and sat and watched it with me for 10 minutes and then wandered off again and then came back and sat and watched it with me for 10 minutes. It's a very good film, I think, possibly for an older family like my daughter's 9, so maybe from like 9 and up, but not so much for the boy. I thought the CGI for the actual Chupacabra was actually very good. I thought it was very good because in a smaller budget film that's Netflix film, you would possibly expect this not to be the greatest CGI, etc. And whilst it's not up there with Avatar or anything else like that, it's totally respectable. You don't sit there and go, oh God, that's bad. You know, it's totally respectable.
It's funny, isn't it? Because this is a Netflix movie that's been, I'm going to assume, made on a smaller budget, and yet there's a VFX team, get it right, John, VFX team there that have clearly worked their backsides off and put their hearts and souls into making that the best it could possibly be. And yet we have movies coming out with billion-dollar budgets that can't seem to get the CGI.
No, yeah. The acting is very good, and what's great about this, as it is with all films, is there are, whether you notice it first time round or not, there are probably 2, if not 3 separate stories going on. Obviously, the young boy's adventures with the Chupacabra are the main features of the film, but just the young boy with the trauma that's happened to him at home. He's moved down to Mexico for a summer to spend time with his Mexican family. He doesn't actually speak a lot of Spanish. So all of that family side of him dealing with that, of losing a loved one and coping, finding that coping mechanism and finding love elsewhere with people that he knew existed, but he'd never really met them before, and all of that side of things. So all of that is really, really nice. And so the young boy, if I had to guess, I would say is probably around about 9 or 10. He's got a younger cousin and an older cousin. So probably, I don't know, if I had to guess, 6, 9 and 12 or something like that, the age ranges. So it's a nice variety, and they have great fun together, and seeing the adventures they get on is really, really good. Damien Bashir, the amazing Damien Bashir.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He plays the uncle and the father, obviously, and he's great in it. He plays a former lucho. Who is a Mexican wrestler.
Cool.
Yeah, and he's got a backstory as well as why he's not a lucho anymore and all of that side of things. It's a nice 3 out of 5 is what it is. It's not going to change your world, but you're also not going to put it on and hate it either. It's a really nice family film. It's a perfect Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon film. I would happily put it on again. I thought it was really, really nice. And I dare say it is one of those films that if I put it on at some point, whereas both of my kids have seen 10 minutes of it here and there, they may actually sit and watch it this time.
What did you not like about it again? Sorry, just to recap.
Well, it was just a little bit...
samey.
Yeah, a little bit formulaic, a little bit kind of generic in those kind of things. You know, Christian Slater playing the bad guy who's trying to capture the beast for his own gains and government and all of that sort of thing. Yeah, it was fine. It was nice. That's exactly what it is. It's an enjoyable 3 out of 5.
Overall, though, well made, well put together, well performed.
I thought it was good. It didn't
nice, enjoyable Sunday afternoon flick.
Absolutely.
There we go, Chupa. That's on Netflix now. 3 out of 5 from Paul Marsh. And finally,
I saw On a Wing and a Prayer, which is on Amazon Prime.
This was Amazon Prime's big Easter drop. And a nice big cast of Dennis Quaid and Heather Graham. And based on a true story. We talked about this before.
It is based on a true story, yeah. Amazing true story, really. Again, so as with all true stories, and we always reference Cocaine Bear, how much...
There's no bar for a true story. Maybe, I don't know, Chaplin, and even that's a stretch. But, but there are so many different examples of true stories we could base that on. I don't know why we base everything on Cocaine Bear, which is maybe 10%.
Because I don't even think it was 10%, because it had the smallest amount of true story.
What, in On a Wing and a Prayer?
No, in Cocaine Bear.
Oh, right, yeah, no, it's not even the story, is it? I think it's like 4% truth and the rest was cobbled
same
together.
With 80 for Brady, They take a very, very small thing that actually happened and they create a film
You
around
could go
it.
out now and drop your lunch and we can get 2 hours out of that, apparently. Story, the brave and epic journey of a man who has no grip. Yeah.
So basically, Dennis Quaid's family have been through a lot. Unfortunately, they've had members of the family pass away. He has taken, I think it's either 1 or 2... training sessions in a plane. What's the word I'm looking for?
Pilot lessons.
There we go. So he has the bare minimum
aviation training.
There you go. The bare minimum of aviation training. Literally, if you had taken 1 or 2 driving lessons and then were expected to go and drive a Formula 1 car. It's that kind of thing.
Right, yeah, I've got you.
So him and his family, they're in on a plane, and it's one of those VW Beetles with wings. It's a real small one. And unfortunately, the pilot passes away.
Yep, that's all in the trailer, by the way. We haven't spoiled that for you.
And
he slips off the mortal coil.
Yeah. Now, I did say to you when I saw this trailer, I thought it was going to be, what's the Sandra Bullock American football film, Blindside. I thought it was going to be Blindside in the air.
Or Blindside, and to reference Sandra Bullock, Blindside and Speed in a little bit.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a circumstance where they've got to keep everything.
And it's not a million miles away from that, to be completely honest with you.
My brother's gone. Before that, my dad, my uncle. Those guys were my heroes. 3 heart attacks. I mean, they didn't deserve that. They're just good people trying to live their life the right way, do the right thing. They didn't deserve that.
I'm so sorry you're hurting. God's gonna get us through.
What, is that the same God that let this happen?
Well, you need
It's
to know...
not gonna bring my brother back.
You need to know that God is there for you.
Why would he let this happen?
If you, I'm sure you do, but if our listeners know anybody who lives in America, who kind of lives in that Bible Belt area of Texas and Louisiana and all of those kind of places, you'll know a lot of people like this who are incredibly devout Christian religion-wise, but they're very positive. Very, very positive people. No matter what happens, God's got a plan. He's going to look after us. I know the pilot has just died, but we're going to be okay because God's going to look after us, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I know a lot of people like that, and they are amazing, amazing people, and I love them dearly. But it's not something us British... It's not something we react to very well because it's so completely far from how we think.
But the British response to that is usually go, so the pilot's dead. And I'm the only one that can... Right, cup of tea then, and we'll figure out what we're going to do. The British way is never give up, never surrender, but also, right... Pop the kettle on. We'll figure out a plan.
Well, that's one British response. The other British response I was thinking about is just throwing your hands up in the air, going, right, well, that's it. We're all dead then, aren't we?
I think you were talking about regions of America that are slightly more positive. Other that sounds like a very southern English thing, especially around these parts where we are now.
Definitely.
I don't want to say it out loud because it involves a lot of expletives, but something along the lines of that's that out window. Might as well ring the solicitor now and the funeral director. We're done for. Well, that's it, innit? Or just in general. That also happens. So I don't know. I would just not get too much into this, but there are different kinds of. But it doesn't matter where you're from or where you live or how you were brought up or what religion you're into. There are different kinds of people, I think, and everyone reacts to a different situation like that. I think the important question is, how would you have reacted to that situation?
Oh, I have no idea. We'll say this about a million other things, that until you put in that situation, I've got no idea how. I'd love to think that I would react in a positive way and do what you can to save the day.
Very well answered.
I got no idea how I'd react. None at all.
Very well handled. You handled that well. I threw you a ball and you caught it. Well done.
But again, so this is very cheesy. It's very American.
I got that from the trailer. I already think I know what you've given it because I can look at I've looked at the poster. You know this thing. We should turn this into a feature. Judge a book by its cover.
Judge a book by its cover.
Or judge a movie by its cover.
Give it a rating before you've walked in and then rate it afterwards.
But we've not been wrong the last couple of weeks. So I might even think, because I'm thinking about maybe moving a certain other feature, not the TipTop 5, don't panic, and replacing it with judge a book by its cover or judge a movie by its cover. So
if we do this, we could save ourselves a lot of time, you know.
No, but what would be nice is if we could set it up one podcast, judge a movie by its cover. Here's a poster of a forthcoming movie. Here's what we've given it.
It would literally take 10 minutes, wouldn't it? We're going to review 50 films in 10 minutes.
No, but we do. Right, here's the idea. We're setting this up now in front of you all live, right? So we'll do one movie a week, prejudge it based on its poster. We'll both throw our star ratings in a guessing pot, like a betting pool. And then when the movie comes out, we have to review it. We go, okay, back in episode whatever, we said this looked like her, and see how right we are. Maybe we could even have like some prizes and stuff for people that guessed along rightly with us or wrongly or whatever. But anyway, that's an idea for another day.
To be fair, it is a 1 out of 5 shot, isn't it?
I've got an idea. It is a 1 in 5 shot. Yeah. I've got an idea on what you've given this movie, and I've got an idea in my head. I want to know if I'm right. But tell me about how it is first.
So, it kind of takes a little bit to get going. There is a lot that goes on. Like I say, unfortunately, the members of the family die, and they're going to a funeral and blah blah blah, and then they have to get back. And the guy who plays is Dennis Quaid. He's not in a good headspace. You know, he's lost a family member. He's really not in a good headspace, and it's a very, very funny moment. In fact, so he's got his headphones on, so you can hear tower control and all of that, and he's just kind of looking out the window, watching the world go by, and then they ask the pilot a particular command or instruction or whatever, and he turns around to him and he says, "Are you not supposed to answer them?" And he's slumped over in the chair, dead. He turns around and he goes, "You do know I just buried my brother. That's not funny."
Wow.
And he's dead.
Wow.
Look, it's a cheesy film, but I will say that when you get to those final 20 minutes or so, it's tense, and I was gripped. And I've got my kids around me. Dad, can you do the day? Just let me watch this bit. Just let me watch this bit. Dad, can we come? No. Just let me. I need to see how this. And it's tense. It's very tense. Heather Graham properly hams it up. She really hams it up as that Southern American. She whether it's too cheesy or too hammy, I don't know, but she properly hams it up. Look, it's good. It's enjoyable. I'd say very much along the same lines as Chupa. Don't expect too much from it, and you'll really enjoy it. It gets better as it goes on. It gets more tense as it goes on, and then the last 10 minutes, we take a trip to Cheeseville.
What did you not like about it?
The cheesiness of it.
That it was a bit too schmaltz for you.
I knew it would be. I knew it would be. I knew exactly what it would be. It's not a Hallmark film, but it easily could be a Hallmark film.
Right? Yeah. See, I did think that.
Yeah.
I did think Hallmark when I saw it.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you.
It was one of those, but I enjoyed it. And again, once we got into the final half an hour or so, I really enjoyed it, and I really wanted to see how it ended. Well, I knew how it was going to end, but you know what I mean. I wanted to get to the end of it.
Okay, so my guess was it was around a 3.
Got it.
Yeah. We should definitely bring this feature in. I have not got it wrong yet. We need to do this.
3 out of 5. Perfectly good. Perfectly enjoyable. Don't expect the world. You won't get it, but you'll enjoy it.
Okay. On a Wing and a Prayer. Or A Wing and a Prayer. Is it On a Wing and a Prayer?
On a Wing and a Prayer.
On a Wing and a Prayer. It's on Amazon Prime Video right now. 3 stars from Paul Marsh.
Right, so moving on to digital. 4K. Blu-ray.
DVD.
And DVD. Right, so we have The Nutcracker and the Magic Flute, which is out on digital Blu-ray and DVD, and Saint Omer, which again is on digital Blu-ray and DVDs.
Okie dokie.
Okay, time for us to now look at the digital 4K Blu-ray DVDs that we have actually seen.
Yes.
So we're going to start with Flashdance.
Again, I don't think this needs any introduction, really, does it? This is a classic. A classic. What a feeling. do you know what? The song's stuck in my head now. Like, again, Flashdance is making its 4K Steelbook debut this week. I suggest if you're a fan of 80s, especially if you're a fan of 80s music and 80s movies, Flashdance is definitely up there, I think. That has made its 4K Steelbook debut this week. I would say go get it, because I'm on an 80s binge at the moment, so I'm really into all of this 80s Steelbook stuff.
Okay.
I'm definitely into it. So, yeah, grab that. That's out this week. What else is out this week?
So we've got Project Wolf Hunting, which is available on digital Blu-ray and DVD.
Speaking of gore.
Yes, this is a very, 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 very gory film. It is... I can't... Now I'm going to offend a lot of people here. I can't remember. I think it's a Korean film. I think. So basically what this has been pitched as is Con Air on the Sea.
I saw the poster, yeah.
Yeah, it's been pitched as Con Air on the Sea, where they have a whole load of convicts. I think actually at the start of the film, if I remember rightly, they try to fly them somewhere, and somebody sets off a bomb and blows up a plane. So they go, right, okay, let's not do that again. What we're going to do, we're going to stick them in a cargo ship, not going to tell anybody about it, and we're going to sail them to wherever they've got to go. I can't remember where it is now. I saw it a while ago. It
was actually quite a while ago you saw it.
Yeah, so what this is, so it's pitched as Con Air on the Sea, and kind of in the vibe of Dusk Till Dawn, funny enough. It's sailing along. You're not the only one that can do puns. Come on, you're not the only one that can do puns.
Sailing along. I thought you meant the ship was sailing on. You mean the film was sailing
along. It's sailing along nicely.
Does it still land if you have to explain it?
Yeah.
No. Well, did I not hear it?
I think you're just so tired.
I think maybe I just didn't hear it
You
right.
just zoomed out.
No. I heard sailing along and I was like, does he mean the boat or the film?
If you've got to explain a joke, it's not funny, is it?
No, but I think you would have said it the first time around and everyone went, hey, and I'm the only one that didn't do that. Because I'm like, wait, what? Did he just make it? What? Anyway, yeah, sorry. So it's sailing along nicely.
It's sailing along nicely. It's like I say, think about Dusk Till Dawn. Yes, we have to get this shipload of convicts from A to B. We know what's going to happen. The convicts are going to take over the boat. And sure enough, that's exactly what happens. Much in the line of Con Air, there's a couple of convicts that have stuck a pin inside their skin or inside the hair weave and all of these bits and pieces to free themselves from their handcuffs and start to begin the takeover of the boat. And that all goes ahead within the first hour of the film. Where this film changes, again, much like Dusk Till Dawn, is if you take Con Air, put it on the sea, think Dusk Till Dawn, and throw the Terminator in, that's where this film goes.
This sounds bonkers. I'm kind of feeling it.
It is beyond bonkers. So, again, never fully explained, or it is explained but very loosely, that they are transporting a test subject. They have been doing lots and lots of work on this dead body, who is no longer a dead body, and he's on ice, and they're keeping him cool, and they're pumping him full of drugs to keep him asleep.
Is he RoboCop?
So, yeah, you could throw in a lot of these cliches, yeah. And basically what happens is where the doctors that are keeping him sedated, other things, like the convicts taking over the ship, take them away from this guy comes out of his stasis, or whatever you want to call it, and he is just like the Terminator, murderous, killing anybody that literally comes into sight.
So it's like Con Air, Terminator and RoboCop. Sign me up, man.
It's bonkers, is
Conceptually,
what it is.
I am fully all the way in.
It's absolutely bonkers. There is a reason why it's called what it's called. There is a reason why it's called Project Wolf Hunting. I'm not going to tell you why that is, but there is a reason why.
Oh, is there a werewolf as well?
No.
Well, you don't need to answer that. I'd spoil it if you did.
Yeah, no, there isn't, but there is a reason why it's called Project Wolf Hunting. And what I would say is... It is bonkers. It's one of these films that, if you like this kind of B-movie, if you like the blood and guts and gore, and believe me when I tell you, if what we've just spoken about with Renfield, with the comedy killings, the gore in this film is 10 levels above that. It's like some horrific deaths. kind of watched every Saw movie and they've turned it up to 11 when they've been looking at the deaths for this film. So, look, quite simply, if you like that type of stuff, you will like this. It is mad bonkers, loads of blood, guts and gore, a very thin plot line that they've absolutely crowbarred in there. If you like that, you'll love this film.
Okay.
I wasn't quite there, but I certainly didn't dislike it, if that makes sense.
Okay, so overall, what would you say?
I would give it a 3 out of 5. I think it could have certainly been a 4, but it is like mad bonkers. Mad bonkers.
Okay, that's Project Wolf Hunting. It's on digital, Blu-ray and DVD this week. 3 out of 5 from Paul Marsh. That's it, isn't it? It's just those two this week.
It is just that's it, yeah. We are going to move on to my favourite part of the show.
Which is the TipTop 5.
Never mind the huge celebrity interviews. It's all about the TipTop 5.
Is it because that's the thing that you came up with?
No. Yes.
I don't have to explain you. You give yourself away.
Ego is crazy.
No. Never. Never.
Right, anyway.
I'm not saying his ego is big, but we had to have all the doors redone in the studio. Right, anyway. Yes, Tip Top 5.
So our Tip Top 5 this week is our top 5 movie vampires. I'll put my hand up for this one and say I didn't fully get the assignment.
Sorry about this. I apologise. He paused because I walked away.
I wasn't the only person, and a few people didn't quite get the assignment. When you suggested this, you actually meant like the actual vampire, didn't you? Not the film. You meant the actual vampire.
So I did mean your top 5 movie vampires.
Rather than vampire movies.
I also had a million things going on at once, as did you. So we didn't really have time to sort of run around. Thank you to everyone that's had a go at this, by the way. But we didn't really have time to go around commenting on everything going, by the way, we meant your vampires, not your movies. So what we've decided ultimately is that we will accept top 5 vampire movies. It's fine, because I think to now kind of go around and go, did you mean the vampire in the movie, or did you? I think that just gets really confusing. So to simplify things, we will accept your top 5 movie vampires, but in this instance, because we probably won't do this again until like Halloween, we'll also accept your top 5 vampire movies. That's our fault, because the message was slightly confusing. Some people understood the assignment, though. Did you?
Do you want me to lie?
Did you not understand the assignment either?
So, first of all, I did my just top 5 vampire movies. Yep. I could change it into my top 5 vampires if you so wished.
Well, I've got... Okay, so what I did was I normally take the 5 that I feel, for all intents and purposes are the 5 best vampire films that have ever existed. Yeah. And then what I did was like, well, actually, they're not necessarily my 5 favourites. So then I kind of mixed it up a little bit and mixed that up with my 5 favourite vampire films. But it just so happens that my 5 favourite vampire films also have my 5 favourite vampires in them.
Yes.
So that's the best way to do that. If you've done that...
Well, what I can possibly do is I can read you my top 5 and then I can tell you who my favourite vampire is in that movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because obviously some of them have multiple vampires.
No, go for your life, because that ultimately kind of sums up what we were getting at.
So my number 5 is Nosferatu.
Yeah.
The original. The GOAT.
Yeah, of course.
It's just amazing. If you haven't seen the original Nosferatu, just take a couple of hours out of your day, turn everything off, draw your curtains, watch it in the black and white. It's brilliant. And no, I don't have The Count in my top 5.
Okay, so number 4. Do it.
Number 4 is Interview with a Vampire and Tom Cruise, because he's the most dastardly in that one.
Yep. Number 3
is Dusk Till Dawn and Salma Hayek.
Very good. Very good, I like that.
She is, not only obviously when she is still Salma Hayek and then the teeth come out and all of that, but when she actually physically changes her appearance into like the demon or whatever you want to say, just brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm going to make you my dog, I'm going to call you Spot. No thanks, I've already married. Brilliant.
Number 2
is Blade.
Excellent.
And Blade himself, Mr. Wesley Snipes. And number 1 is probably going to be a lot of people's number 1, or certainly in their top 5, is The Lost Boys and Kiefer Sutherland.
Oh, Michael.
Brilliant, yeah.
Was it David? No, David. David.
Michael's the younger brother.
Michael. Yeah, so David. Oh, yeah. Are you afraid to face me, David? Yeah. So David is Kiefer Sutherland. Sorry about that, Lost Boys fans.
Fantastic. Love it. And which is my joke from last week.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it all ties in.
That took a week. Right.
It takes a week to get one of my
Everybody
jokes.
else's. Let's go. Let's go.
Right, okay, starting with Mr. Wayne Johnston. Number 5, Fright Night. That almost made my top 5. I love it.
Yeah.
Number 4, Underworld Awakening. Number 3, Salem's Lot. Number 2, From Dusk Till Dawn. And number 1, Blade.
Very good, mate. Who's next?
James Secker. James Secker, number 5.
Whoop, there he is.
Number 5 is Near Dark. Number 4, I haven't heard of this, Mr. Vampire.
Very cool.
Not heard of that. Number 3, amazing film, Let the Right One In. And number 2, Fright Night again. And the original 1985, I should say, Fright Night. And number 1 is Blade.
That being said, the remake's not that bad either.
The remake is very good, but the original is amazing. Ali McDiff. Ali McDiff?
Ali McNiff.
I've got a cold. Ali McNiff. Number 5, Bram Stoker's Dracula. That's the only appearance, which is very surprising. Number 4, Interview with a Vampire. Number 3, From Dusk Till Dawn. Number 2, Underworld. And number 1, Blade.
Okay. Who's next?
Next is Simon Bruce. So, Simon, we received an email from Simon.
Yeah, read his email out.
I absolutely love this. So Simon says, loving the podcast, keep them coming. A bit more notice than 24 hours, though, for the top 5s would be nice. So, again, we do apologise. We had a really, really busy week.
Oh, man.
And both of us, we just didn't, we apologise.
That's why he's poked me 3 times since I've been here to wake up because I've fallen asleep.
However... He said he would like more notice than 24 hours, but he had 24 hours notice, and he's come up with 2 top 5s and a list of other top 5s that we can do in future weeks. So for 24 hours notice, Simon, you haven't done too badly, to be fair.
Also 2 top 5s after he sent an email telling me off for having more than 5 and not in particular order.
And, and his top 5s are totally different. So do we want to hear great vampires or do we want to hear great movies? I'm only reading 1.
Well, we've done movies all this way along.
So should we go with movies?
So we go with movies,
Okay, right. So,
make it fair.
Number 5, My Best Friend is a Vampire. Number 4, Fright Night, 1985. Number 3, Blade. Number 2, 30 Days of Night.
Good choice.
And number 1, Lost Boys.
Is it my turn?
It is your turn.
That was my chair, not my backside. Okay. Number 5, Near Dark. Number 4, Interview with the Vampire. Number 3, The Lost Boys. Number 2, Bram Stoker's Dracula. And number 1, From Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh, wow. Okay. I really thought that was going to miss out.
No, that's number 1 for me.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Of all of those, I thought about it and I was like, of all those 5 films, which one would I just put on right now? And that was the one.
No, that's why I do my favourites rather than best.
But I watch Bram Stoker's more often than most people do, I reckon. Yeah, for sure. I love that movie.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Look, I'd say virtually every movie that we have just mentioned are all absolutely brilliant.
Thank you very much. If you enter the top 5, then we appreciate it. And by all means, keep an eye on our social medias at Need a Bigger Pod. If you want to suggest a top 5, thank you to Simon. We will probably use one of those very soon, or all of them over coming weeks. We really appreciate you sending those over. If you've got an idea for one, at Need a Bigger Pod. If you want to join in with one, at Need a Bigger Pod. Keep your eyes peeled on that. What's next, Paul Marsh?
Time for Goat of the Week.
I'm going to do this really quickly because I know we're running out of time and I've got people waving at me through the window. So I will say Goat of the Week this week is Nicolas Cage. Doesn't need explaining. Look him up online. In fact, don't even do that. Nicolas Cage, the name enough, right? The man has had such a legacy and he is such a legend. And this week has just proven that. Watching Renfield has just proven, do you know what? He deserves Goat of the Week status because he is the greatest of all time. anyway, but of this week, certainly so, especially with this movie. I think it's a nice thing to attach those two scenes together. So, in honour of Renfield and all that he's done, to be honest, it makes me want to go back and have a Cage binge. I'm thinking of Gone in 60 Seconds with the fingers now. Let's ride. Yes, Nicolas Cage is this week's Goat of the Week.
I've loved the Nicolas Cage resurgence over the last few years.
Oh, it's been
really
amazing.
have loved it. I think it's
a massive talent. What a film that is as well. I might watch that. Actually, him and Pedro Pascal are such good teammates.
Brilliant.
Yes. Excellent. Nicolas Cage is this week's Goat of the Week. And there we have it. That's it. Yeah.
We're done for another week.
Thank you to everyone that got involved. Really appreciate it.
Seriously, thank you for that. We really do absolutely massively appreciate all the love on the social media and the people that we know, people that we don't know, that have literally just stopped us and said, heard your pod, it's really good.
I tell you another thing that's been really nice is I've been popping out for meetings and things and bumping into people, and sometimes they've got it on in their car and sometimes in their office when I turn. I get that if I'm turning out for a meeting with them, they got it on the office. It's probably staged that way, but nonetheless, it's a really lovely thing to hear it. It's very strange hearing it coming out of people's cars. It's very surreal. I'll never quite get over that. I think it's the same when you're on the radio, though, right?
Yeah,
if you pre-rec something and then you go out and you hear yourself in a car.
Pre-rec? I don't know what you mean.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much to all of your support. We really appreciate
massively.
it. At Need a Bigger Pod on socials. And of course, if you want the full list of end credits to, as I say, it always takes a village to make a show, then please do go and check that out. audioboom.com. Check out our main page on there. We're going to need a bigger pod. We're on there. You can get the full list of all the people that had something to do with this week's episode. However, in the main, we will say thank you to Express FM for allowing, I was going to say feeding us, watering us, and well, there's that as well. But no,
we're not gremlins.
For giving us a studio and offer oftentimes at the last minute or directly after a show, and that means by the time we bring this to you, we've already been on air for 3 hours, and then we do this show. So thank you, and thank them for sticking it out with us. They are the absolute best. ExpressFM.com if you want to know more about them. If you're local to Portsmouth, though, 93.7 on the FM band, or ask your smart speaker to play Express FM. They've got a real great mix of music. He's on there as well most days, which is great. I'm on there every other Sunday as well with the Composer Series at 6 p.m. by all means. And don't forget also, while we're here, to check out Scoreheads on this very same channel. That's all from us. Thank you again to the View Cinema in Gunwharf Keys. They're amazing. They always play great films, and they've got great venues, and more importantly, they've got great staff. To find your nearest view, myview.com. That is us. I'm out of vampire puns. I think now it's time to return to my coffin.
1 2
Is that? Are you shouting out how many years in detention you've got for being late?
3
You're not allowed out tonight.